Welcome back to Bargirl Baddies. Today we've got a story that's going to hit different for a lot of you out there. It's about a 29-year-old guy from Manchester named James who thought he'd cracked the code on happiness, thought he'd found real love in the most unlikely place, thought marriage would be the beginning of his dream life in Thailand. He was right about one thing. Marriage did change his life. Just not in any way he could have imagined when he was standing there in that village ceremony, looking at his bride, feeling like the luckiest man alive. This is a story about hope and blindness, about the gap between what we want to believe and what's actually true, and about how sometimes the person we're really lying to is ourselves. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And if you've ever fallen hard for someone abroad, or felt like you were living in a dream that was too good to be true, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends. Alright, let's get into it. Here's James's story, in his own words. My name's James. The 1030 now, back living in my childhood bedroom in my parents' house in Stretford, trying to figure out how I managed to lose everything in less than 2 years. But let me rewind. Let me tell you about the bloke I was before Thailand, because that version of me feels like a completely different person now. I was 27, working IT support for a mid-sized firm in Manchester, the kind of job where you fix the same problems over and over, reset the same passwords, explain to the same people why they can't open email attachments from suspicious senders. I was good at it, good enough that they let me work remote 3 days a week, which should have felt like freedom, but mostly just meant I spent more time alone in my flat in Salford, staring at screens, answering tickets, watching my 20s slip past like water through fingers. I wasn't miserable exactly, just empty. You know that feeling? Where nothing's actually wrong, but nothing's actually right either. My mates from uni were getting married, buying houses with their girlfriends, posting photos of weekend trips to the Cotswolds. Meanwhile, I was spending Friday nights playing FIFA and ordering Deliveroo, maybe hitting the pub for a few pints if anyone was around, which they increasingly weren't. I'd had relationships, a couple that lasted a year or so, one that nearly got serious until she got a job offer in London, and we both realised neither of us cared enough to make long-distance work. After that, I sort of stopped trying, just accepted that this was it. Work, flat, pub, repeat. The weird thing about loneliness isn't that it hurts. It's that after a while, it just becomes normal. You forget what it felt like to actually want to wake up in the morning. My only real escape was YouTube. I know how that sounds, but I'd fallen down this rabbit hole of expat channels. Guys living in Thailand and Vietnam and the Philippines, showing off their lives in the sun, their cheap apartments with balconies, their nights out that cost less than a round in Manchester. It wasn't even about the women, not at first. It was about the possibility of a different life. A life where my savings might actually mean something, where the weather didn't make you want to top yourself 6 months of the year, where maybe I could be someone other than the quiet IT guy who never quite figured out how to be happy. I watched those videos the way some people watch property shows, just fantasizing, never actually believing I'd do it. Then came February 2023. The boiler in my flat packed in during a cold snap. Work was particularly soul-crushing. All these massive changes to our ticketing system that meant relearning everything for no actual improvement. And I got a bonus. Not huge, couple grand, but enough. I was scrolling through flights one Sunday night, half cut on cheap lager, and I just thought, fuck it. Fuck the cold. Fuck the routine. Fuck waiting for life to start. I booked 2 weeks in Thailand, left 3 weeks later. I'll never forget stepping out of Suvarnabhumi airport into that Bangkok heat. It was like walking into a wall of warm water. Everything was noise and colour and chaos, and it was brilliant. I spent a few days in Bangkok just wandering, getting lost, eating street food that cost pennies and tasted better than anything back home. Then I did the typical tourist trail, train down to the islands, Koh Samui, Koh Phangan. Beautiful, sure, but full of gap-year kids and Instagram couples. I was still alone, just alone in paradise, which somehow felt worse. Then someone at my hostel mentioned Pattaya, said it was mental, said it was seedy, said it was nothing like the rest of Thailand. That's exactly why I went. I wasn't looking for pristine beaches and spiritual awakenings. I was looking for something real, even if real meant a bit rough around the edges. I got a bus from Bangkok and arrived early evening. The sun was setting over the bay and the whole place was lighting up. Neon everywhere, music spilling out of bars, motorcycles weaving through traffic, the smell of grilled meat and exhaust, and the ocean all mixed together. It felt alive in a way Manchester never did. It felt like anything could happen. I checked into a small hotel in Jomtien, nothing fancy, and spent the first night just walking around, taking it all in. I wasn't stupid. I knew what Pattaya was famous for. I saw the older foreign men with young Thai women, the girls outside the bars calling out to passers-by, the whole machinery of it. But I told myself I wasn't like that. I was just here to explore, to have a drink, to feel like I was actually living for once. The second night, I ended up at this small bar off Soi 6. Nothing flashy, just a few tables, some locals, a couple of expats watching football on a dodgy stream. I ordered a beer and sat there trying to look like I belonged. That's when I noticed her. She was at a table with two other girls, laughing at something on one of their phones. She wasn't working, at least not obviously. Wasn't dressed up like the girls outside the bigger bars. Just jeans and a nice top, hair pulled back, drinking what looked like a vodka Red Bull. But it was her laugh that got me. Proper, genuine, the kind that makes you want to know what's funny. I must have been staring because she caught me looking and smiled. Not a working smile, if that makes sense. Just friendly. She said something to her mates and then walked over to my table, bold as anything, and asked if I wanted company. Her English was good. Little accent, but clear. I said yes. Obviously I said yes. Her name was Nong. She was 26, from a province in Isan I'd never heard of. She'd been in Pattaya for 3 years, working freelance, she said. Promotional work for hotels, some events, trade shows. I didn't ask for details. She asked where I was from, what I did, how long I was staying, normal questions. But she actually seemed interested in the answers. We talked about music. Turns out she loved the same indie bands I did, which felt like fate, even though realistically, half of Thailand probably listens to Arctic Monkeys. We sat there for maybe 2 hours. Her friends left at some point and she stayed. When I offered to buy her drinks, she waved me off, said she was fine, bought the next round herself. That impressed me, made it feel less like a transaction, more like an actual connection. When the bar closed, she asked if I wanted to get some food. We ended up at a late-night Thai place, one of those open-air spots with plastic chairs and fluorescent lights and the best pad krapao I've ever had. She taught me how to eat it properly, laughed at my pathetic tolerance for spice. At the end of the night, she wrote her line ID on a napkin and told me to message her if I wanted to hang out again. I messaged her the next morning. We met up that afternoon. For the rest of my trip, I barely saw Pattaya without her. She showed me places tourists don't go. Local markets, temples up in the hills, a beach north of the city where there were no vendors or jet skis, just sand and water. We rented a scooter and rode up the coast, stopping at tiny restaurants where she'd order for both of us. Things I couldn't pronounce, but that tasted incredible. It felt easy. That's the thing I remember most. How easy it was to be around her, no awkward silences, no trying to impress each other, just two people enjoying each other's company. She didn't ask me for anything. Didn't hint about money troubles or bills. When I paid for meals, she thanked me but didn't expect it. A couple times she paid. That meant something to me. Made me think this was different. On my last night before flying back to Manchester, we sat on Jomtien Beach watching the sun go down. She leaned her head on my shoulder and asked if I'd come back. I told her I would. She smiled and said good, because she'd miss me. I flew home the next day feeling like I'd left half of myself behind. Back in Manchester, everything felt greyer than before. The job, the flat, the weather, all of it. I couldn't stop thinking about her. We messaged every day online. Good morning texts, photos of what we were eating, voice messages. She told me about her day, her family, her dreams. She wanted to open a small cafe one day, she said. Somewhere cozy, good coffee, homemade cakes. She was saving up, but it was slow going. A month in, she mentioned she was struggling with rent. Just mentioned it, didn't ask for anything. But I offered, sent her 3,000 baht, about 70 quid, through an app. She was so grateful, sent me a voice message nearly crying, saying she didn't expect it, that I was too kind. It felt good. Felt like I was helping someone I cared about. Felt like I mattered to someone. That became the pattern. Every few weeks something would come up. Phone bill, her mum needed medicine. Scooter repairs. Never huge amounts. 100 here, 50 there. I didn't mind. I was saving money not going out in Manchester anyway, and it meant something to her. She'd send me photos of the receipts sometimes, proof she was using it for what she said. That reassured me, made me feel like this was real. 6 months passed like that. Video calls most nights, talking about everything and nothing, falling asleep with my phone on the pillow so I could hear her breathing on the other end. My mates thought I was mad. One of them, Chris, sat me down in the pub and asked me straight if I was being scammed. I got defensive, told him he didn't know her, didn't understand. He backed off, but I could see the concern in his eyes. I didn't care what anyone thought. For the first time in years, I was excited to wake up. I had something to look forward to. Someone who wanted to hear about my boring day, who laughed at my jokes, who sent me videos of her cooking dinner and asked what I thought she should make. Looking back, I should have wondered why someone that beautiful, that funny, that young, was spending hours every day messaging a slightly pudgy IT guy from Manchester. Should have asked myself what she was really getting out of it. But I didn't. Because asking meant doubting, and doubting meant risking the best thing that had happened to me in years. I booked my return flight in August, 7 months after that first trip. This time, it wasn't a holiday. This time, I was going back to stay. I didn't quit my job straight away. I'm not completely reckless, but I handed in my notice, gave them the standard 2 months. Told my landlord I wouldn't be renewing the lease. Started selling my stuff on Facebook Marketplace. The telly, the sofa, boxes of books I'd never read. Kept what I could fit in 2 suitcases and a backpack. My mum cried when I told her. Didn't try to stop me, but I could see the worry in her face. My dad just shook his head, said I was old enough to make my own mistakes. Maybe he knew something I didn't. Nong was ecstatic when I told her I was coming back for good. We video called and she actually cried happy tears, told me she couldn't wait to build a life together. That phrase stuck with me. Build a life together. It sounded so solid, so real. The plan was loose. I'd come over on a tourist visa first. We'd get married the proper Thai way. Then I'd sort out the marriage visa. In the meantime, I'd look for remote work, something I could do online. The money I'd saved, about 18 grand after selling everything, would keep us going for a good while. In Thailand, that was a fortune. We could live well for a year, maybe longer if we were careful. I landed in Bangkok in late October and took a bus straight to Pattaya. Nong met me at the bus station on her scooter, wearing a sundress I'd never seen before, her hair down. And when she hugged me, it felt like coming home. We rode back to Jomtien with my backpack digging into my shoulders and the warm wind in my face. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is what happiness feels like. She'd found us a small condo to rent. 1 bedroom, basic kitchen, balcony overlooking the street. Nothing special, but it was ours. Our first night there we ordered in, sat on the balcony drinking beer, and she told me how happy she was that I was finally here. Really here, not just visiting. I told her I wanted to do this properly. I wanted to marry her. She went quiet for a moment. Then she smiled and said yes. Just like that. No big production, no getting down on one knee. Just 2 people deciding to commit to each other. We'd do it in her village, she said. Meet her family, do the traditional ceremony. I loved the idea. It felt authentic, respectful, like I was being welcomed into something bigger than just the 2 of us. We travelled up to Isan 2 weeks later. 10 hours on buses and in the back of pickup trucks, roads getting rougher the further we went from Bangkok. Her village was tiny. Dirt roads, wooden houses on stilts, chickens and dogs wandering around. Her family's place was modest but clean. Her mum, her older brother, his wife and kids, a few aunts and uncles. They welcomed me like I was already family. Didn't speak much English, but they smiled a lot, kept filling my plate with food. I couldn't identify but ate anyway because refusing felt rude. The wedding was small. A monk came to the house, blessed us, tied our wrists with sacred thread. Nong wore traditional Thai dress and looked absolutely beautiful. I wore a shirt I bought in Pattaya, felt underdressed but nobody seemed to care. There was the sinsod, the bride price. Nong's brother had explained it to me beforehand. A show of respect, he said. Didn't all have to be real money, could be partly for display. But I wanted to do it right. I gave 200,000 baht, about 5 grand. A third of my savings. Nong's mum cried and hugged me. Her brother shook my hand like I'd done something honourable. We spent 3 days in the village. I met what felt like every relative she had. Everyone was kind, curious about the Farang who'd married their Nong. The kids loved me, climbed all over me, practiced their English. One night, we all sat outside, drinking Lau Khao, this brutal rice whiskey, and I felt genuinely accepted. Like I'd found a place where I belonged. Back in Pattaya, we settled into married life. Those first few months were everything I'd imagined. We'd wake up late, have coffee on the balcony, ride the scooter down to the beach. I'd work on my laptop, sending out applications for remote positions, doing the occasional freelance gig. Nong kept doing her promotional work. She'd go out a few times a week, dressed up, said she was working events at hotels or nightclubs, trade shows, product launches, that sort of thing. She'd come back late, sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning, exhausted, but with cash in her purse. I never questioned it. Why would I? She was working, contributing. I respected that. We explored the area like tourists, even though we lived there. Found little restaurants in the Swa, tried every variety of Thai food we could find. Made friends with some of the other expats, mostly older guys who'd been here for years. They'd give me advice about visas, where to shop, which hospitals to use. There was this whole infrastructure of foreign men living here, and I felt like I was becoming part of it. But slowly, things started to shift. It was subtle at first. Nong's work schedule became less predictable. Some weeks, she'd work 1 or 2 nights. Other weeks, it'd be 4 or 5. She'd leave at 9 in the evening, dressed to the nines, makeup perfect, and I wouldn't see her until dawn. She'd slip into bed smelling like cigarette smoke and perfume, curl up next to me, and sleep until afternoon. When I asked about it, she'd say the events were running longer, that this was high season, that the money was good and we needed it. And she was right, we did need it. Because my savings were disappearing faster than I'd planned. Living in Thailand was cheap, sure, but there were always extras. Nong's family needed help with something. Her mum's diabetes medication. Her brother's kid needed school supplies. The roof on the house needed repairs. Every month there was something. And I couldn't say no. These were my family now too, right? This is what you did. You helped. Then there were our own expenses. The condo rent, utilities, food, Nong's scooter payments. She wanted to go out to nicer places sometimes, said she was tired of street food, wanted to feel special. I'd take her to proper restaurants, the kind with air conditioning and menus in English, and the bills would be 3,000 or 4,000 baht. Still cheaper than Manchester, but it added up. I started drinking more, nothing crazy, just a habit. I'd hit a bar in the afternoon while Nong was sleeping, nurse a few beers, chat with whoever was around. Met this older British guy named Dave who'd been in Pattaya for 15 years. Ran a small bar with his Thai wife, seemed to have it figured out. He was friendly, but I noticed he'd watch me sometimes with this expression I couldn't quite read. Pity maybe, or recognition. One afternoon, after I'd had a few, Dave asked me what Nong did for work. I told him. Promotional work, events, freelance stuff. He nodded slowly, didn't say anything for a minute. Then he asked if I'd ever been to one of these events with her. I said no. She said it was boring, just standing around looking pretty for photos. Dave nodded again, said that made sense. There was something in the way he said it that bothered me, like he knew something I didn't. But when I pressed him, he just shrugged, said every relationship was different, told me to forget he'd mentioned it. But I couldn't forget. It sat in my mind like a splinter. I started noticing things I'd been ignoring. The way bartenders and Mama-san greeted Nong when we'd walk past certain places, like they knew her, really knew her. The clothes in her closet that I'd never seen her buy, expensive stuff, designer labels. She said they were gifts from the hotels she worked for. That seemed plausible. I wanted it to be plausible. Her phone was always face down. Always. She'd get messages at all hours, and she'd check them quickly, reply in Thai, put it back down. When I asked who was messaging, she'd say, friends, work contacts, nothing important. Once I joked about her being so popular, and she snapped at me, said I was being jealous and controlling. That stung. I backed off. The argument started around month 5, small ones at first. I'd suggest we needed to budget better, that my savings wouldn't last forever, and she'd get upset. Said I was being cheap, that I didn't understand how expensive things were for her, that she was supporting her family and me. That last part hurt because it was partially true. I hadn't found steady remote work yet. I was doing bits here and there, but nothing consistent. She was bringing in cash from her gigs. I was living off my savings. The dynamic I'd imagined, me as the provider, had inverted without me noticing. We'd make up after these fights. She'd apologise, I'd apologise, we'd have sex and pretend everything was fine. But the distance was growing. I could feel it, She was slipping away from me, or maybe I was just finally seeing clearly. One night, she came home at 6 in the morning. I'd been up, couldn't sleep, sitting on the balcony watching the street wake up. She walked in, saw me there, and her face did this thing, guilt maybe, or annoyance at being caught. She said the event ran late. Then she went to get food with co-workers. I asked what event. She got defensive, said I didn't trust her, that this wasn't going to work if I questioned everything she did. We fought properly for the first time. Voices raised, her crying, me feeling like a bastard, but also like I was going insane. She stormed into the bedroom and locked the door. I slept on the couch. In the morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Made me coffee, kissed my cheek, said she had to go help a friend with something. She was gone all day. That's when I started to properly unravel it. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't avoid it anymore. I was at Dave's bar one evening and I asked him straight, what did he think Nong really did? He looked at me for a long moment, then he sighed. He told me he'd been where I was. Met a girl, fell in love, married her, thought it was real, found out she was working in the bars the whole time. Still saw customers. He didn't find out for 2 years. When he confronted her, she didn't even deny it. Just said, this is Thailand. This is how girls survive. Did he think his pension was enough for both of them? I told Dave my situation was different. Nong wasn't a bar girl. She did legitimate work. Dave didn't argue. Just said I should trust my gut. That if something felt off, it probably was. I went home that night and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Couldn't stop adding up all the small things that didn't quite make sense. The late nights, the vague explanations, the money that came in cash, the way she'd flinch when I asked about her day. My laptop had been acting up, running slow. I asked Nong if I could use hers to send some emails. She hesitated, just for a second, then said, sure. She was in the shower. I opened her laptop and a Facebook message notification popped up from a man in English. Can't wait to see you next month, baby. I should have closed it, should have respected her privacy. But I didn't. I clicked. The messages opened and I felt my stomach drop. Conversations with multiple men, different names, different countries. All of them calling her baby, darling, sweetheart. All of them sending her money through Western Union or PayPal. All of them planning trips to see her. One guy thought they were in an exclusive relationship, was asking about visiting her family. Another was sending her monthly support, called it an allowance, said he missed his Thai princess. I scrolled back through months of messages. There were photos she'd sent them. The same photos she'd sent me when we first started talking. Sweet messages. I miss you. I think about you every day. You're special to me. Copy-pasted sentiments sent to a dozen different men. Then I found the messages to her friends. In Thai. I put them through Google Translate and the translations were rough but clear enough. She was joking about the Farang who married her, called me her insurance policy, said I was boring in bed but generous with money, laughed about how I believed everything she told me. I sat there with her laptop open, the shower still running, and I felt like my chest was caving in. Everything I thought was real. Every moment I'd treasured, recontextualized in an instant. I wasn't her husband. I was one of several income streams. A particularly committed one maybe, but that's all. When she came out of the bathroom in her towel, I was still sitting there with the laptop. She saw my face, and she knew. Didn't even ask what was wrong. Just said, you looked. I asked her if any of it was real. She didn't answer straight away. She sat down on the bed, still in her towel, and lit a cigarette. Then she told me I knew what she was. That all Farang know, deep down. They just don't want to admit it. She said every girl in Pattaya is working, one way or another. That she never lied to me, I just never asked the right questions. I asked about the other men. She shrugged. Said she needed to make money. That I couldn't support both of us and her family on freelance IT work. That this was survival. I asked if she loved me. She looked at me like that was a stupid question. Said love doesn't pay rent. We fought for hours. I accused her of using me. She accused me of using her, of wanting a young, pretty Thai wife to show off to my mates back home. Said I got what I wanted, so why was I complaining? I told her I wanted a real relationship. She laughed. Asked me what made me think any of this was about what I wanted. It was the cruelest I'd ever seen her, but also the most honest. She wasn't pretending anymore. The mask was off. And underneath was just a tired woman trying to get by in whatever way she could. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry or beg me to stay. She just told me, this is how it works. if I couldn't handle it, I should leave. But she also knew I wouldn't, not right away. Because where would I go? I'd burned everything for this.